What's up, everybody? It's August 9th, 2017. We're talking Mr. Miracle.
Storm on this track, I'll knock it out of sight. Reed Richards, Hamlock, Johnny, can I get a light? X-Men 2099, we the freak show, not a living planet, but I gotta check my ego. Capus Hydra, can you handle that reveal? Bruce Rocks, Allison Blair, and the Batmobile.
Look who I got on the weekly reviews. We're going dual style this time, two at a time. But we're still talking about one book, and it's Mr. Miracle #1, the big book that came out this week. And it's supposed to be, they've had the previews, they've had a bunch of ads for it. It's the Tom King, the hottest writer in comics.
Yeah, well, obviously hot. It went flying off the shelves.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Me and Mike both couldn't get one, so that's why we had to read digital. But hey, we had to have it. So you know what? I'm sure I'm going to buy it in print again on that second printing. I'm sure Mike as well.
Yep.
But so here we go. This is a maybe some would call Z-class DC character that's getting his own series. That his most famous attribute is his wife is Big Bertha, or Big Bertha. Barda. Jesus.
Well, and it just shows. I mean, this is a character that we discussed real briefly that I don't know a whole lot about. And even with Big Barda, I don't really know too much about. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, the things I do know is just, like, overall stuff. Like, I know they're coming out right now because it's part of the Jack Kirby special. So Kirby created these characters. They're the New Gods. Yeah. They're from New Genesis. They talk about that a bunch, and I know that that's like a world in the DC, and that's like all I know about New Genesis is that it's a world. And then I had to. Mr. Miracle's dad apparently is like the ruler of New Genesis. That's, I guess.
And I kind of knew about this because I do remember in some other book that I read, some Justice League book, I'm sure, that they traded sons regularly. Like Darkseid traded some of his sons, and the God of New Genesis traded some of his sons to Darkseid to keep them from destroying each other. If you had each other's kids, you wouldn't annihilate each other's worlds.
So there we go. Thank you for that information. But this isn't your normal just Jack Kirby superhero story, because this is like opens up to this, guys. Yeah, that's Mr. Miracle just slitting his wrists. So we're starting out real hot and heavy right away. There's blood. He's in his bathroom. Yeah. He's bleeding out. It gets really existential. And over the whole entire book, basically what happens is he tries to commit suicide. Barda brings him to the hospital. He's saved. He goes on to a talk show saying that he's just trying to escape everything. He was going the next level, trying to escape death. And this is like the reason that he's doing it. And then at the very end, they're called to New Genesis to try to help because his father has been killed, they said. And throughout this whole thing, there's kind of like this duality of there's something more at play. Darkseid has possibly changed reality in a certain kind of way. Barda's eyes are different, and he's talking to people who aren't there. Or maybe he's just crazy. Or what are you?
Maybe he died.
Yeah,
because I can see that's going to be the big question. Did he escape death? Wherever you go, was he able to come back, or is he still stuck there? And
even the talk show host, and when he's on talk show, says, "Did you do it?" And they won't answer it. Yeah. So, and then great point. Did he? That's like the theme of this thing. If he can escape death. And then there's this other thing that's like when he's in his costume and he's talking to the public and he's around, he's real happy-go-lucky and nothing's wrong and everything's good. And then it's almost like maybe he was really committing suicide. Maybe there is a deeper thing here. Is he depressed? Is something else going on? Why? We don't really know why. We just know this one explanation. So it was definitely a crazy start to a DC book, though. Yes. I mean, when have you ever seen a superhero just slit their wrists?
No, but to a certain degree, this storyline reminds me of the Moon Knight run where Jeff Lemire, where you didn't know, is he crazy, is he not?
Yeah.
So you're going through this entire arc, and I think it's going to be the continued question on where is he and why is this going on. So is there... this is superheroes, this is gods, this is all this stuff. Is it a component of that? Is it a component of his mind? I mean, I think that's what's great. It definitely, as I started reading it, it is written in such a tough style to follow until you get towards the end. and then more of it makes sense because it's somewhat disjointed.
It's very disjointed. There's never a transition, right?
Right.
So it's like you're in the middle of this scene, and then you're in the middle of this scene, and there's not really a beginning to end of the scene. You're in the middle of these scenes, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I put Mike on the pressure that he had to just read it really quick. I mean, I took my time. I was like going back pages because it was like, oh, did I miss this? Did I miss this? There was this really, this thing at the beginning where when he was a school kid, he said, I drew a picture of God, and they say, you don't have no idea who God looks like, and he says, well, until now. And then that like came back later, and that was like a very clever piece of writing, and interested in, how this is all tying together, because that could have just been in his head the whole time, because this dead person told it to him. So definitely interesting. I mean, I appreciate DC taking a chance, seeing what Tom King's done on,
Division,
Omega Man, and Sheriff Babylon.
Yep.
And a lot of people have, hashtag Not My Batman over at Wednesday Comics, saying that his Batman run isn't what they were looking for. And I think this is letting King do King.
Yes.
Right? So we're back to that same style of what he was doing before. And then Mitch Gerads is... his art is like, it's almost like you feel like it's messy. He does a lot of different things with the colors and shifting. And so like when you're looking at this Mr. Miracle in the costume, it's almost like you don't know if you're in reality or what's going on.
Yeah, and I definitely felt that because of the costume being such a crazy color, the 4-color art, the costume is, pops of red, pops of yellow and green, and it is surreal in that way. And so when you see pictures, especially with his mask on, it almost reminds me of a cheaper anime show that your kids would watch.
Yeah.
And so I see that, and it's so weird. And then they cut to everybody's face. And if you've seen Sheriff of Babylon, he does fairly good detailed faces. Mm-hmm. And I think that was... It's so back and forth with that, where it's a gritty realism and then this over-the-top superhero look.
Yes, so... I think it's a great marriage of both, though. Mitch Gerads' the man. I met him at FableCon. He's super cool to me. He did a little sketch with me on his book Authority. So I've always been a big fan since then. Super glad to see that he's going to be on this book that is going to be high profile. I mean, it sold out of our shop by the time we got there at 4:30, on the day that it was released. So, Rainbow Comics, step your game up. But other than that, I definitely love this book, and I'll give it 6 out of 6 beers.
Definitely. I would say the same. I mean, it's tough to judge on the single issue, but it did leave me wanting to read more.
Yeah.
And I instantly took a liking to a lot of the characters.
Yeah, and I think the reason that I'll put that 6 right away is just because... DC's letting a character or somebody take a character, do something different, show a different style, not in the DC style. And so I love that DC's been taking all these chances with, young animals and all this other stuff. So,
and knowing that it doesn't have to be an ongoing. Yeah. We get a contained full storyline. And for me, that's great. Knowing that you're getting an ending is important.
Exactly. Especially when you know that Tom King can deliver an ending. So, yep. Definitely agreed. All right. Thanks for checking out the show, man. Keep it comics.